Hello, this is Mystery Valley. Today I'll go over an action-adventure comedy movie based on the Sega video game series, Sonic the Hedgehog. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A normal day in San Francisco, California is suddenly disrupted by a startling spectacle. A blue-furred, white-gloved, red-shod anthropomorphic hedgehog is zipping across the city at breakneck speed, pursued by a flying vehicle driven by a red-suited scientist with a mustache. The pursuit is interrupted in the midst by a Sonic the Hedgehog narration that starts at the beginning and fast-forwards to the present. Sonic remembers his early years spent on a lovely island with pom-poms, waterfalls, and even earthen loop-de-loops. Despite being advised to keep his natural abilities a secret, he recalled sprinting gleefully around the island every day and living life to the fullest. Sonic, a young child, runs to the treehouse where his adoring surrogate mother, Longclaw the Owl, is sleeping and jokingly bumps into her to wake her up. Longclaw cautions Sonic that he could have drawn attention due to his highly sought-after abilities, and sure enough, when Sonic tenderly gives her a sunflower, an echidna tribe of archers ambushes them. Longclaw tries to flee urgently with Sonic, but one of the echidnas shoots his arrow and hits her, sending her tumbling to the ground while Sonic hangs on to her. Even though he is hurt, Longclaw advises Sonic to keep his identity and powers a secret while opening a portal to the planet Earth on the other side of the cosmos using a golden ring. She hands Sonic the remaining rings in a little bag and instructs him to run to Earth, where he will be safe. When Longclaw remains back to fend off the incoming echidnas, the apprehensive Sonic rushes into the vortex. As he realizes she's in danger, Sonic rushes back to attempt to save her, but the portal closes just as he gets there, leaving Sonic alone and brokenhearted. Sonic has gotten used to life on Earth 10 years later. Tom Wachowski, the local sheriff of Green Hills, Montana, is waiting impatiently for traffic in the empty speed trap when Sonic playfully teases him by speeding past his radar gun. As Tom is summoned away by his deputy, Wade, to handle a small matter, he carries one of Sonic's blue quills that he found laying in the tall grass with him. Before abandoning the happy reptile and scurrying back to his secret subterranean temporary home, Sonic saves it from being driven over by an oncoming automobile and gives it a crazy ride. Sonic appears to like his existence since he enjoys playing with the trash he collects to amuse himself and feels safe because he knows what to do if he is ever caught. He'll flee to one of the planets shown on a map that was included in the bag of rings, one that is desolate and home to enormous mushrooms, should he ever be discovered. While he despises the notion, he is unconcerned since Green Hills reminds him of home. He visits the village frequently and keeps a covert eye on the residents, Tom being one of his favorites, or Donut Lord, as he calls him. He also enjoys Maddie, Tom's veterinary nurse wife, whom he refers to as Pretzel Lady because to her yoga flexibility. Also, he enjoys teasing Crazy Carl, the town's single resident who genuinely knows about him and is continually attempting in vain to apprehend him. Sonic has developed a close relationship with Tom and Maddie and frequently visits them at home, particularly on movie evenings. Sonic yet feels incredibly lonely in his self-imposed exile, despite this enjoyable location and all of these supposed friends of his. Tom gets from Maddie his eagerly awaited letter of admittance into the San Francisco Police Department, and the two talk about the tough decision to leave Green Hills after Tom returns home one night to see raccoons in his garbage can. The following day, Sonic watches the neighborhood kids' baseball playoffs while Tom gives his farewell speech to a donut. Sonic enters the empty baseball field that evening and plays by himself, using his speed to take on the duties of every player. He succeeds in making a flawless move and exults, but as he turns to look around and notices no one is there to encourage him, he understands that he is indeed alone forever. He furiously runs around the field while trying to get rid of the agony in his desperation, but the energy coming from his body causes a powerful electromagnetic pulse that wipes out electricity over the whole Pacific Northwest. With the town completely in the dark, Wade calls Tom in a panic, who gives him instructions but cuts him off when he sees the electric blue quill he had previously discovered shining. The Pentagon receives word of the incident quickly, and the perplexed Department of Defense seeks Dr. Robotnik's assistance in identifying the reason. Robotnik's flying, high-tech, egg-shaped drones proceed into the forest and come upon one of Sonic's tracks after he and Agent Stone gain control of the military force stationed at the baseball field. Robotnik learns that his computer is unable to locate even one animal match on Earth that would be the source of the print. Sonic hastily returns to his cave to get his belongings and gets ready to depart from Earth forever while military personnel and drones scour the forest for him. The army and drones approach Sonic's cave just as he is about to activate the rings, and Sonic runs to evade them while sentimentally saying farewell to his grotto. Tom is speaking on the phone with Maddie, who is in San Francisco visiting her sister Rachel and niece Jojo. Maddie has traveled out to join them. Tom hears a noise and looks down to discover his garbage can on its side as he informs Maddie about the blackout. Tom gets Maddie's tranquilizer pistol and walks outside to look at the shed because he thinks the raccoons are back. Before Sonic can activate his ring inside the shed, Tom suddenly breaks in and spots him. Tom throws a dart into Sonic's thigh as they both scream in dread at the sight of one another. The diminishing as Sonic drops his ring, it creates a portal atop the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco, which he recognizes from Tom's t-shirt. The bag of rings that Sonic unintentionally dropped into the portal landed on the building's top. Hence, the portal shuts as Sonic falls asleep. Tom then pulls Sonic inside and cages him like a dog. Tom discovers after inspecting Sonic that he is Crazy Carl's Blue Demon. Just as Robotnik's vehicle pulls up, Sonic wakes up, escapes the cage, and the two finally get to meet in person. Tom conceals Sonic in the attic while going outside to see Robotnik, who sends his drones to explore the home as the two of them converse outdoors after Sonic pleads for Tom's assistance. Sonic hides from the drones by curling into a ball and hiding among the many sports balls kept in the attic. But, when the drones come too close, Sonic runs out of the attic and makes noise. Robotnik storms inside to discover a raccoon devouring a dessert Maddie had made for Tom. But just as he's about to walk away, he spots the quill. Robotnik screams in terror as Sonic appears and begs him to spare Tom as he threatens Tom with revealing Sonic's whereabouts. Tom seizes the chance to hit Robotnik, knocking him out cold. During a fight inside the home with one of Robotnik's drones, Tom and Sonic escape. Robotnik reprimands Agent Stone for not attempting to apprehend the fugitives and orders him to bring the quill when Stone arrives to check on Robotnik. Tom begs Sonic to explain himself since he and Tom are now on the run. Sonic replies that he has to travel to San Francisco so he can retrieve his stolen rings. Tom first instructs Sonic to travel alone, but Sonic is unsure of the location of San Francisco, and following Tom's instructions to just head west only leads to Sonic crashing into the Pacific and returning to Tom freezing, wet, covered in seaweed, and sporting a fish. Sonic says Tom is too responsible for his misfortune and that he cannot complete his mission by himself. Tom reluctantly consents to accompany Sonic to San Francisco. When the two set off on their voyage, Sonic views it as a pleasant road trip, taking in the sights along the way, including the biggest rubber band ball in the world. One evening, they arrive in a certain area of the city, and Tom instructs Sonic to remain in the vehicle while he makes a phone call to Wade from a nearby payphone. Wade informs Tom that Robotnik and his operatives are looking for him and are with him in the station. Robotnik, who is enraged after receiving a face blow, informs Tom that he is on his way. The biker club seems really fascinating, and despite Sonic's valiant efforts to restrain himself, he ultimately gives in. Tom returns to his car with a lunch in hand, only to discover Sonic has vanished. In the pub, he runs across Sonic, who convinces him to remain and have fun with him. Sonic creates a bucket list of the things he'd like to do while still on Earth, but he quickly discovers that he might not be able to because he must leave the planet soon. Nonetheless, Tom pushes Sonic to try to do as much as he can while they are still there, and the two take some time to appreciate all the festivities going on in the bar. Sadly, several trouble-seeking punks show up, and Sonic riles up the leader of the group, sparking a fight in the pub. At the split second before the punk leader can reach him, Sonic sharpens his senses and sprints around the pub, protecting Tom from assailants and putting up cheeky pranks and traps to put an end to the brawl. Sonic's gadgets quickly halt the conflict, and the punk leader falls through the window while sporting a bear head placed on the wall. Outrunning the irate customers, Tom and Sonic leave the tavern and spend the night in a nearby motel. Tom questions Sonic about the other planet that he will have to travel to when he leaves Earth after Sonic has finished running around the room having fun with various hobbies. It's a terribly miserable place, Sonic admits, and he wonders aloud whether Longclaw wasn't mistaken. He muses about living on Earth before nodding off. Tom notices that one of Sonic's goals is to create a true buddy as he tucks him in. At that point, a warning about Tom appears in the news program. Tom has been labeled a domestic terrorist as a result of his efforts in defending Sonic from Robotnik and the military. The following morning, Robotnik and Stone question the punk leader and other customers of the pub after discovering that Tom and Sonic are going to San Francisco. Robotnik triangulates where they are and pursues them. Tom answers Sonic's question regarding his personal bucket list when they are traveling. Tom tells Sonic that he wants to leave Green Hills and all the people he loves about in order to work as a street officer in San Francisco and establish himself as a hero. Sonic is perplexed by Tom's decision to do this and questions his motives. When Robotnik discovers them, he dispatches the Mayhem battleship. While the automobile suffers significant damage in the combat, Tom and Sonic manage to overcome each of the machine's minor stages. They eventually pull off the road to dispose of the explosive that Sonic has adhered to his hand. Sonic finally gets it off, but then it explodes, knocking Sonic out cold. Tom is happy to learn that Sonic is still alive, but Robotnik is furious and chastises Stone for feeling sympathy for them. Robotnik discovers a blue, electric glow emanating from Stone's pocket quill at that very time. When Tom finally makes it to San Francisco, he goes to Maddie's house where he is met by a passionately hostile Rachel who has heard about him in the news and won't let him in unless Maddie steps in. Tom had wrapped Sonic in a towel, but when Jojo and Tom's dog Ozzy arrive to welcome him, Ozzy tears the cloth away to show Sonic while Rachel and Maddie dispute over Tom. When Maddie and Jojo simply gaze, Rachel collapses at the sight. Robotnik, meantime, amuses himself by dancing to a song while analyzing the quill and the energy it holds, until Agent Stone, who has come to give a coffee, suddenly appears and startles Robotnik to near death. As soon as the machine has finished its analysis, it discovers that the quill has endless energy, which Robotnik believes would allow his robots to function to their fullest capacity. Rachel is restrained in a chair as Tom, Maddie, and the injured Sonic are being attended to. Sonic is brought to life by Maddie using smelling salts. After a stunning burst of movement, Sonic scrambles to understand his surroundings and greets Pretzel Woman with enthusiasm. As Maddie, who is afraid, asks Tom who and what Sonic is, Tom responds by telling her the truth about their shared adventures and Sonic's goal of reaching the Transamerica Pyramid. Jojo gives Sonic a brand new pair of vibrant red sneakers, which he immediately likes. Sonic also meets Ozzy, who he is envious of but who gives him a loving face-licking. Tom and Maddie take over angry Rachel's car and drive to the Transamerica Pyramid with Sonic. There, Tom poses as a jumper saver to get the necessary clearance to climb to the roof. People on the street are really worried about Tom and Maddie as they are holding Sonic because they think they are carrying a kidnapped youngster. After the three go to the roof, Sonic locates and collects his bag of rings at last. Sonic tries to hurl a ring to open the portal after an emotional parting with Tom, but it hits one of Robotnik's drones and bounces back. The three are surrounded by many more drones, and Robotnik himself shows up to greet them in one of his own flying machines. Robotnik and Tom had a brief conversation before Sonic calls Robotnik Eggman in reference to his egg-shaped drones. Robotnik prepares his drones to destroy the trio, but Sonic knocks Tom and Maddie off the building's roof. Sonic gets hit by a missile fired by Robotnik, but he quickly adjusts his awareness to dodge them and nonchalantly brushes them aside. Robotnik can, however, activate a button that propels his car at supersonic speed and charges it with energy from the quill. He unleashes a blast, which Sonic just misses and which briefly sends him into a stupor. Tom and Maddie are still tumbling as Sonic awakens. A portal underneath them is opened as he snatches one of the rings descending with him and tosses it, sending the two back to Green Hills. Back in San Francisco, Sonic, the remaining rings, and Robotnik's wrecked drones plummet to the ground together with Tom and Maddie after landing in a farmer's barn. In the meantime, the barn's owner welcomes Tom and Maddie and solicits their assistance in assisting a cow's labor. Robotnik pursues Sonic in his truck as he is cornered and taunted, but Sonic collects up his dropped rings and flees across the city. Sonic continues the tale sincerely, as eager as the audience is to find out what happens next, noting how this has brought the movie full circle. When Robotnik pursues Sonic across San Francisco, Sonic is astounded by Robotnik's endurance. Sonic opens a portal to France, with him and Robotnik disrupting a mime act being performed for a young girl as they rush past. Robotnik pursues Sonic around the Great Wall of China after they go there together through Sonic's subsequent ring portal. Afterwards, Sonic establishes a portal to Egypt, where Robotnik, in his haste to capture Sonic, ruins several centuries-old structures. Robotnik spots Sonic rushing up the side of one of the Great Pyramids and follows him there, releasing a blast just as Sonic is able to open another portal ring. Sonic utilizes his speed to briefly break Robotnik's visual contact. The blast sends Sonic hurtling through the ring and into the street, where he lies immobile. The portal returns Sonic to Green Hills, now at night. As Robotnik's truck exits the vortex, the horrified witnesses run away. Robotnik is getting ready to kill Sonic, but Tom fights him in the open cockpit of his vehicle. Robotnik queries Tom's decision to risk his life for a silly little extraterrestrial when Tom is unluckily knocked from the cockpit. Everything is still and silent as the townspeople arrive to defend Tom. Robotnik says that Sonic was merely an alien who didn't belong and advises freezing the body to keep it fresh. Sonic is roused from his pain trance when Tom reacts by informing Robotnik that Sonic knew more about being a human than he ever would and claims to have been his buddy. Passionately exclaiming to Robotnik that he will no longer flee but instead utilize the power that is rightly his to defend his companions, Sonic charges up with great force. Robotnik lowers his goggles as the two foes get ready for a head-to-head fight. Robotnik launches missiles, but Sonic deflects them and bounces off the structures, slamming Robotnik's car with a series of progressively quick body slams. Sonic asks Tom to open a gateway to the mushroom world behind Robotnik because the car is severely damaged but still afloat. Finally, just as the portal is about to close, Sonic sprints directly at Robotnik's car and strikes it hard enough to send it hurtling backwards through the vortex to the mushroom world. As Tom and Sonic meet up again, Tom offers Sonic his rings and a high five, something Sonic had been wanting since he saw a young baseball player high-fiving his friends. Tom explains to Maddie that he has made the decision to stay in Green Hills because he believes he has already saved a life. Sonic moves after Tom and Maddie as the crowd leaves. One of the Pentagon representatives shows up the next day as Tom and Maddie are fixing and repainting their home to praise Tom for taking down Robotnik and to let him know that his guilt has been eliminated along with any evidence of Robotnik's existence. He also gives Tom a gift card to Olive Garden and asks whether Sonic would be willing to speak with the president, but Tom lies and says Sonic has already departed to spare him that. Once the representative departs, Sonic invites them to watch a movie, but Maddie informs him that he needs to return to his cave. As Sonic attempts to leave, they explain that they had another meaning in mind. Sonic is shocked to see that his entire stuff are in his new room when Tom and Maddie open the attic door to show him. Sonic is overcome with happiness as he sprints about and enjoys getting his belongings back. Sonic thanks Tom and Maddie from the bottom of his heart as they sit with him on the bed and welcome him home. Ozzy returns to lick Sonic as the camera pans out and away from the home. Sonic is still envious but takes pleasure in the licking. Robotnik, meanwhile, has entirely lost his mind on the mushroom world. He glances at his mirror in a pool of water as he finishes shaving himself entirely bald, now sporting an absurdly long, grown-out mustache. He tosses a rock at it and speaks to it, instructing it to conduct rock reconnaissance for him. The rock is sculpted to resemble Agent Stone. He considers his predicament and says that a weaker guy would perish at such a spot. He then declares that he'll be back home before Christmas while holding out a little container with a quill inside of it. He lowers his goggles and moves robotically until he finds the stone, which he then tosses again while yelling, "Rock reconnaissance," and laughing hysterically.